What's up, everyone? This is your host, Ghost, coming to you live with another wonderful video. How is everyone doing today? I'm doing well myself. Um, Sorry about the delay. I had to change shit in the Twitch part. It was still in Helldivers, so I had to figure that out momentarily. Um, yeah, I had some things I needed to do, which also caused the delay. But everything should be good to go at this point. Let me just double check, make sure the audio is good, and then we will start. Okay, cool. Sweet. Audio is good. Show is good to go. All right. Sorry about that. Sorry about the delay. I had some things going on this weekend. Um, and it sucks ass. So, but we're good now. We're all good. So, let's get into it. Day 11 of the Trump trial. Yeah. So this was Friday's trial. We should finish up with the digital analyst for whatever reason. That we were doing the digital analyst that we were at. I believe they had just started cross examination on him, so we'll finish him. And if I remember correctly, it'll be Hope Hicks, who is like Trump's close advisor during all this. So it's her next after that. And I think they finish with her, or she takes pretty much the rest of the day. I can't remember. Because I only know this general part is because when I was scrolling through to get to the beginning, you kind of see a few things. So, all righty then. So let's get to it. Before we get into it, let's do a few housekeeping things. First off, follow me on X at officialwghost. That's the best way to find out when I go live and what I am doing. And then of course rumble.com/withghost as the main channel for all my shows. youtube.com/@withghost is obviously the YouTube channel. And then twitch.tv/officialwithghost. I don't know what was going on the last couple of sessions when I was playing my video games, but it seems to be streaming my what's the fucking word I'm looking for? Seems to be streaming my my Rumble one. So maybe it's just what I'm using to stream towards it. I have no idea. All right. And then X is, of course, also where I'm streaming. These are the various channels. If you want to super chat, of course, you got to go to Rumble. I am not important enough to receive anyone from YouTube. Maybe you can do it on Twitch. I really don't understand Twitch. I don't care for Twitch that much. And I mainly focus on Rumble, really. Everything else is kind of just a way to spread my own audience. But yeah, I think that's all the housekeeping I have today. So let's get to it. Let's start this. All right. So day 11. Judges on the bench. Court is back in session. Good morning, Mr. Trump, Merchant said as proceedings picked up again. Judge is beginning court today by clarifying to Trump that he has the absolute right to testify if he chooses. Merchant says he's doing this to clarify the gag order. The order restricts extrajudicial statements, does not prevent you from testifying in any way. Merchant says it does not prohibit you from taking the stand. It does not limit or minimize what you can say. The judge did not rule on the alleged gag order violations brought against Trump. I think he does later today. Let's see. Trump's attorney, Todd Blanche, is beginning to by raising evidentiary objections to the next witness, a summary witness. Excuse me. He cites a Trump post on Truth Social, Trump tweets, and a tweet in an article by Washington Post. And Blanche argues that there is hearsay information in the tweet and the article. The article in question is a post piece on the Access Hollywood tape from October 2016. There's quotation marks around the entire article. The danger and of unfair prejudice is extreme in this situation, Blanche argued. Blanche is also arguing a tweet from the Washington Post should not come into evidence because it includes a photo of Trump, Billy Bush, and one of the women in the video. Blanche invokes the recent Court of Appeals decision overturning Harvey Weinstein's conviction. Judge says the Weinstein decision doesn't factor into this. The Weinstein reference came up as they were seeking to limit access Hollywood tape references. Yeah, I don't really see how Weinstein really is overturning has anything to go on with this. Let's see. Trump's attorney Blanche is arguing that true social posts from the former president from last August should also not come into evidence. The post reads, "If you go after me, I'm coming after you." He said it's a reaction to calls by some political action committees to spend money to make sure Trump is not reelected. The campaign reacts forcefully and it has nothing to do with witnesses. I agree. Judge reiterates that he ruled that a full transcript of the Access Hollywood tape can come into evidence per his previous ruling, but the judge says that the story in the Post with a photo of Trump is damning evidence, and Murch said he does not want those words associated with a photo of Trump from the jury. It's very powerful evidence, it's damning evidence, and I don't think it's necessary, Murch says. Murch says that the prosecutor needs to have the ability to establish the date of the article, which is why they want to introduce it. Okay. All right, so I guess that was the end of it. Douglas Dowse, who processed digital evidence in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, is back on the stand to continue to be cross-examined by defense attorney Bove. Juries are seated at the questioning as the questioning is underway. Bove is asking Dowse about the chain of custody of Michael Cohen's two cell phones when they were turned over to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office in January 2023. There is a gap from January 19th when Cohen signed a form to turn over his cell phones and January 23rd when the cell phones was taken into custody. Dowse agrees. Dowse confirmed that Cohen had encrypted messaging app Signal on his phone. When users on Signal set up the app to delete messages, it's very difficult to recover messages forensically, he explained. Let's see. Bove is asking Dowse about a factory wipe of Michael Cohen's first phone on October 1st, 2016, after the date of September 6th, 2016. Audio recording on the phone between Cohen and Trump. Bove asked Dowse if the wipe raised questions about that audio file. You have to have a look at where the file came from, Dowse says. Bove has Dowse confirmed that there was a backup and a sync of the phone in 2017 when the phone was connected to Conan's laptop. Dowse asked if he knew certainly that what was transferred back to the phone. The file is certain, Dowse said. Attorney Bove asked Dowse whether the reason that Trump's former attorney, Michael Cohen, had so many contacts on his cell phone was because he synced the phone to his laptop, which was connected to his iCloud account. Dowse says it could be an explanation on why Cohen had more than 39,000 contacts. Bove brings up that 46 seconds was cut off of the file on the September 6, 2016 audio recording on the phone between Cohen and Trump. Dowse agrees he doesn't know how much longer the conversation between Trump and Cohen continued. Bove continues by mentioning news coverage about the audio recording in 2018, asking Dowse whether this means that Cohen and his attorney sent the file to the media in 2018. Could have, yes. Dowse says he agrees that it shows the file is out there in 2018. Dowse confirms that the data on the phone does not show a phone call that would have interfered with the recording on September 6th. Dowse explains that that had the audio recording been edited or modified after September 6th, it would show in the metadata. Bove moves to strike the answer, which judge overrules. So he says, no, you can't strike the answer. Bove then asked Dowse if that was his hypothesis. Dowse agrees and confirms that there was nothing in the metadata showing the file was modified. Bove is now asking Dowse about another sync of Michael Conan's phone in October 2020. We don't know what it was from, Bove asks. I do not. We'd have to take Conan's word for what happened to this phone in 2020, Bove says. Let's see. Bove says Dowse is looking at evidence from 2016 with all these intervening events between the files and when he obtained Conan's phone in January 2023. They present questions about the reliability of the evidence, Bove says. It would seem so, Dowse testified. All sorts of things have happened with Conan's phone that creates variables that in your ideal situation would be investigated, Bove says. Dowse agrees. Now, remember, this is cross-examination, so he's allowed to basically do leading questions and whatnot. So, okay, so that finishes the cross-examination, and the prosecutors are back for another round of questioning. Prosecutor Conroy is starting his redirect and says digital evidence analysis Dowse was asked a serious question about a phone being used. Is it unusual? It is unusual for a phone to be used. Conroy asks. No, Dowse says. Conroy says the other recording Bove asked about are not relevant to this case, which Dowse confirmed. Conroy is asking Dowse if he witnessed any evidence of tampering on data pulled from the recording on Conan's phone. Did you see any evidence of tampering or manipulation on any of the data that you pulled related to the recording that is in evidence as People 246? That's the exhibit number. Conroy asks. I did not, Dowse says. Testifies. So that was the end of redirect, and now there is recross. Bove, did you see any gaps in the handling of this data that created risk for such tampering? Yes, Dowse testified. And that's it. Oh. Conroy is back, so it's redirect for more questioning of Dowse. Conroy's question was if he made a conversation 7 years ago with a phone in his pocket, he wouldn't expect it to show up on a call log on the phone. Dowse responded, I would not. Dowse is off the Zen. There you go. Oh, this is interesting. So Bove smirked and shook his head at his prosecutor. Conroy asked his last inquiry on another round of questioning. Trump hits Bove's arm and gestured for him to get back up there, but Bove shook his head no. That's interesting. It's very interesting. All right, next witness is Georgia. No, it's not. No. Georgia Longstreet, paralegal at the district attorney's office. Prosecutor Mangold will question her. Longstreet says she identified publicly available materials relevant to Trump's case, including social media posts and news articles. She says she reviewed anywhere between 5,000 and 10,000 social media posts. Longstreet is now explaining the social media platform Twitter and social. Longstreet says she reviewed the account at Real Donald Trump on Twitter, and she confirmed this was Donald Trump's account. Prosecutors are expected to introduce social media posts made by Trump. Longstreet explained to the jury that she placed the URL of the website into Wayback Machines to review news articles. Prosecutors said earlier this morning they are using the digital archive service to introduce the Washington Post article on the Access Hollywood tape as it appeared in October 2016. Court has a short break. Judge is back on. Judge is going back through exhibits the defense is objecting to. Blanche says, assuming the judge rejects his hearsay objection, they have agreed to a stipulation involving the Washington Post article. Prosecutors said with the stipulation, they will not seek to offer the Washington Post article. Blanche objects to a True Social post where Trump wrote, if you go after me, I'm coming after you. Prosecutors want to get the evidence into evidence to show Trump's pressure campaign against witnesses set to testify. Did that have anything to do with witnesses set to testify? Judge says he's laying a social media post into evidence, saying he's satisfied the prosecutors have laid proper foundation. About what? Like, when was this post made? And did it have anything related to the witnesses? Jerry's back in the courtroom. Trump agreed to a stipulation indicating the Washington Post published an article on the Access Hollywood tape on October 7th, 2016, 4:01 p.m. ET. Jurors, the stipulation is information that the party agreed to without the need to call a witness. Judge explains, saying it should be considered as any other evidence. Prosecutors are now playing the statement Trump released on Twitter in response to the Access Hollywood tape. Statement said, anyone who knows me knows these words don't reflect who I am. I said it, I was wrong, and I apologize. Oh, why are you apologizing? Why are you apologizing? You were stating like basically a fact. That's all that was. You basically stated a fact. Like, you guys don't remember the Access Hollywood tape was Trump basically saying, if you're rich and famous enough, women will let you do things to them. That's basically what it is. That's the famous grab him by the pussy line, which, again, was wildly exaggerated and wasn't at all what he meant at all. Should never post. Should never apologize for anything. Doesn't matter. All right. The jury was shown multiple social media posts from Trump after prosecutors played the statement Trump released on Twitter in response to the Access Hollywood tape, including a tweet from October 11, 2016. The very foul-mouthed Senator John McCain begged for my support during his primary. I gave you one, then dropped me over locker room remarks. From October 15, 2016, nothing ever happened with any of these women. Totally made up nonsense to steal the election. Nobody has more respect for women than me. October 16, 2016, polls closed. But can you believe I lost a large number of women voters based on made-up events that never happened? Media rigged elections. October 17, 2016. Can't believe these total phony stories, 100% made up by women, many already proven false, and pushed big time by press, have impact. There were also True Social posts from last year, March 15, 2023. I did nothing wrong in the Horseface case. I see she showed up in New York today trying to drum up some publicity for herself. I haven't seen or spoken to her since I took a picture with her on a golf course in full golf gear, including a hat close to 18 years ago. She knows nothing about me other than her con man lawyer, Avenatti, and convicted liar and felon jailbird, Michael Cohen, may have schemed up. Never had an affair with her, just another false accusation by a sleazebag witch hunt. August 4th, 2023. If you go after me, I'm coming after you. All right, so Trump's attorney, Todd Blanche, is starting to question Longstreet, the paralegal. Blanche is asking Longstreet if she has listened to all of Michael Cohen's Mea Culpa podcast. Absolutely not. Longstreet says, generating laughter from the courtroom, including Blanche. Trump even leaned back and smiled. Longstreet says she looked at between 5,000 and 10,000 social media posts in connection to this case. Longstreet asked if she decided which posts would be shown in court today. I'm just a paralegal. I don't call the shots, she says. He first clarified with her that prosecutors opted to introduce 7 of the 1,000 photo of posts she reviewed. So this is Hope Hicks. That's supposed to be, damn, she's not bad looking. Oh, I guess that was the end of it. All right, so they speak. Okay, so Hope Hicks has entered the courtroom. Sorry. So yeah, I guess that was the answer to the question. Really wish I could watch this live. Be so much easier. Let's see. So Hope has entered the. Let's get a little drama going. Hope has entered the courtroom. Is walking into the gallery behind Trump. Trump, an attorney, smiles towards her. She appeared to look straight ahead as she walks in. I'm really nervous, Hope. I'm really nervous, Hicks says while looking at the jury. She looks visibly uncomfortable after taking the stand. Prosecutor Colangio is handling the questioning. Hicks is describing her work with Ivanka. I was enjoying it so much that I was offered a position at the Trump Organization and jumped at the opportunity to join the company full time. Hicks is testifying pursuant to a subpoena and is paying for her attorney. So she's only testifying because there was a subpoena making her testify. Hicks said she was last in contact with Trump in the summer or fall of 2022. Hicks says she has no current professional relationship with Trump. He is not a client in her current role. Hicks reiterated that she's nervous. She just stopped in the middle of her statement to say that she can hear herself on the microphone. And it's going to take a moment to get used to it. Hicks is saying that in 2014, she started at the director of communications for Trump's organization, working on public relation material and marketing collateral for the real estate and hospitality business. She says those businesses were thriving at the time. Hicks says that when she transitions into more of the political work, she began meeting with Trump more frequently. Hicks says Trump is a very good multitasker. Hicks is working with Trump, saying he's a very good multitasker. He's a very hard worker. He's always doing many things at once, Hicks says of Trump. It's not unusual for her to be in and out of Trump's office during his meetings, Hicks says. Hicks says avoid looking at Trump in the courtroom as she, oh my God. She's not looking at him because she's nervous as hell. Yeah, but anyways, Hicks is probably just nervous as hell. She even says, I'm nervous. You know, it's kind of nerve wracking to have to testify and have a bunch of people looking in your eyes, knowing that this is going to be broadcast to everyone. So I'm sure that it's just nerve wracking. So she's probably just trying to focus on the person who's answering the question and the jury. She's probably actually just looking straight at the prosecutor during the question, like how some of the people that actually have experience in the courtroom, they'll look at the jury and talk to the jury. Well, she's probably just like staring like deer-eyed, like straight at the prosecutor answering him. What she's probably doing because she's probably nervous as hell. So this whole right here, Hicks has avoided looking at Trump as she testified. Doesn't mean shit. All right. Hicks says that by 2015, she spoke with Trump on the phone every day if we weren't able to communicate in person. I would usually call the office and be connected, but he had a cell phone or a home phone number as well. Hicks testified that everyone who worked at the Trump Organization, in some sense, reports to Mr. Trump. It's a very big and successful company, but it really runs like a small family business in certain ways. Let's see. Hicks says that Trump had a close relationship with Keith Schleiler. Sheeler served as director of security for the Trump organization, and then as deputy assistant to Trump and director of Oval Office operations. Excuse me. In 2017, he hand delivered a letter from the president firing FBI Director Comey, entering the FBI with a manila folder and leaving without it. When asked who Don Jr., Eric, and Ivanka are, Hicks gestured her hand towards the defense, but kept her gaze forward towards prosecutor Colangelo. They are Mr. Trump's children, she says. Prosecutors are now asking about Ronna Garf, who is Trump's former longtime assistant. Garf testified last week. Garf and Trump had a relationship of mutual respect. Hicks testified. She was crucial to how everything ran on the 26th floor. She had a lot of institutional knowledge, Hicks says. Are you familiar with someone named Alan Weiselberg? Colangelo asked. Yes. Weiselberg was former Trump organization CFO. Hicks says that when she shifted to working on Trump's political campaign, Alan Weiselberg helped with the personal financial disclosure Trump was required to provide. He also provided an explanation and shared with the press about how Trump self-financed his campaign and loaned money to the campaign, she says. Colangelo says Hicks to describe Weiselberg's relationship with Trump. Also mutual respect, he says. She says, sorry. He was a trusted person there. Hold on one second. Sorry, my aunt had a mini stroke this weekend, so and I'm bringing my daughter to go see her. We're just coordinating stuff. So, anyways, let's see. Colangelo now asked Hicks about Conan's role at the Trump organization. Do you know what kind of work he did? He asked. Not specifically. I know he was involved in a couple of licenses deals for some of the hotels projects and maybe some of the entertainment pieces as well, like Miss Universal pageant, she says. Hicks is explaining how she began to work for the Trump's presidential campaign in 2015. Mr. Trump one day said, "We're going to Iowa." I didn't really know why. Blanche leaned in. The initial Iowa trip was sometime in January 2015, she says. Hicks recalled Trump saying to her at one point that she'd be the campaign press secretary, and she thought it was a joke because she had no experience. She said that eventually she spent so much time working on the campaign, it eventually ended up that way. That's funny. Hicks is testifying about her role as campaign's press secretary. It was kind of a constant flow of incoming questions, so I managed all those, tried to respond to everyone in a timely manner. It was just me and Mr. Trump, who is better than anyone at communicating and branding, she says. There's no communication team at this point in the campaign. Hicks says Trump was very involved in his campaign and weighed in on media responses. He knew what he wanted to say and how he wanted to say it. We were just following his lead. Hicks says he deserves the credit for the different messages that the campaign focused on in terms of the agenda that he put forth. Hicks says she traveled with Trump almost every day during the campaign, recalling who else would travel for the campaign with Trump, Hicks says that the core staff was very limited. Hicks confirmed during the testimony that Trump was focused on press coverage of the campaign. She checked with Trump before making statements to the press. Hicks continues to describe campaign operations. Mr. Trump was reachable. I mean, when he wasn't doing rallies and interviews, he had a phone and he could be reached. But Keith was also helpful in facilitating phone calls, he said, referring to Scheller. Prosecutors are asking Hicks about Pecker. Do you know someone named Pecker? Prosecutor or Colangelo asks. I know him as a publisher of American Media, Hicks replies. Hicks describes Trump and Pecker as friends. She'd be introduced to him in a previous job and reconnect with him later when she worked with Trump. I knew they were friends, she says. Hicks doesn't recall when she knew, but said at some point I realized that. Hicks says she was present for a phone call between Pecker and Trump during the campaign, including shortly after the Inquirer published a piece on Ben Carson. Trump congratulated them on great reporting, Hicks says. He called it Pulitzer worthy. Hicks was asked if she was ever in and out of the office when Trump was meeting with Pecker at Trump Tower. I don't have a recollection of that, she testified. Oh my fucking god. Hicks testified that they were traveling every day for the campaign in the fall of 2016. Hicks described her campaign travels in the fall of 2016, where they would go on Trump's plane from LaGuardia Airport and do between 2 or 4 stops per day. Most days, she said, they would return to Trump Towers at the end of the day. Hicks is testifying that she became aware of the Access Hollywood tape on October 7th, 2016, after receiving an email from a Washington Post reporter seeking comment about it. She said she was in her office on the 14th floor of Trump Tower at the time. Hicks is being shown a copy of the email she received from the Washington Post reporter who was seeking comment after the release of Access Hollywood tape. The email has been accepted in evidence and is being shown to everyone now. Hicks smiles as she recalls she forwarded the email to the others on the campaign. Subject line read, urgent wash post query. I have an extremely urgent request for you today. The email from David Farrarent told on October 7, 2016. At first, her reaction was what her first reaction was to receiving the email from Washington Post reporter. Hicks says, I was concerned, very concerned. There's a lot of play, she testified. I was concerned about the contents of the email. I was concerned about the lack of time to respond. I was concerned we had a transcript without a tape. There was a lot at play, she says. Hicks says she forwarded the Washington Post email and seeking comments to several senior leaders of the campaign, including Josh Miller, David Bossie, Kellyanne Conway, and Steve Bannon. Hicks is reading over an email she sent with notes to several senior leaders of the Trump campaign after the Washington Post requested a comment about the Access Hollywood tape. Flagging, Hicks wrote in an email with 2 notes. 1, need to hear the tape to be sure. 2, deny. On the stand, Hicks is rubbing her chin as she says, deny. She confirmed she wrote that with a laugh, calling it a reflex. Strategy number 2 is going to be a little more difficult, she said, chuckling on the stand again. Hicks says Trump's campaign team on the 25th floor of Trump's Tower in a conference room at the time preparing for debate. She recalled Steve Bannon, Kellyanne Conway, Jared Kushner, Sorry about that. She recalled Steve Bannon, Kellyanne Conway, Jared Kushner, and Jason Miller were there with others at the time. She recalls seeing Jeff Sessions that day, but doesn't think he was in the conference room at the time. Kalangios asked if Trump was upset when he saw the Access Hollywood tape. Yeah, he was, Hicks said. Trump asked to see the actual tape. She says she adds she can't remember whether she saw the tape before the Washington Post published its story or not. Hicks is recalling Trump's reaction to the Access Hollywood tape. He said that didn't sound like something he would say. Hicks says, noting Trump asked to see the actual tape. I was a little stunned, Hicks said, of her first reaction to watching the Access Hollywood tape. It's hard to describe, but it was definitely concerning. I had a good sense this was going to be a massive story. This was a damaging development to the campaign, Hicks said. She said there was a consensus among the group. The tape was damaging. This was a crisis. Hicks said that in the moment, she was not concerned about the impact the Access Hollywood tape would have on female voters, but the concern crossed her mind maybe a few hours later or the next day. Certainly, eventually, that was something that was raised. Hicks testified she thinks Trump felt. Hicks says Trump didn't want to offend anyone. I think he felt it was pretty standard stuff for two guys chatting with each other. She adds about the Access Hollywood tape. Yeah, that's exactly it. I think this thing kept getting blown out of proportion. It was ridiculous. Trump was involved in campaign response to the Access Hollywood tape. Hicks testified. He always liked to weigh in on responses, she says. Hicks has shown a copy of the first statement the campaign put out on the tape. Hicks is reading the initial campaign statement to the jury. It also is displayed on a screen in the courtroom. This was locker room banter, a private conversation that took place many years ago. Bill Clinton has said far worse to me on the golf course. I bet he has. Not even close. I apologize if anyone was offended, the statement reads. Prosecutors are now playing the video Trump released that evening for Hicks. She says she was present at the video as the video was prepared. Trump is engaging, watching. Hicks was just asked about the media coverage surrounding the Access Hollywood tape. Hicks bit her lip and replied it was intense. She said the coverage of the tape knocked news of the Category 4 hurricane out of the news cycle. It was all Trump all the time for the next 36 hours, Hicks testified. Hicks is asked who released statements criticizing Trump after the Access Hollywood tape. Trump raises former House Speaker Paul Ryan and Senator Mitt Romney. Prosecutors put Mitchell McConnell. Okay. Statement on the Access Hollywood tape on the screen. Then prosecutors showed Mitt Romney statements. There was an objection. Attorneys are now at the judge's bench. Oh, okay. So Hicks is looking at the jury and the prosecutors as she's testified today. She has not looked at Trump. Again, she could be very nervous and is focusing on the people that she has talked to. So it doesn't really matter about why she's not looking at Trump. It really doesn't. Judge sustains the Trump team's objection. I wonder what the objection was. Hicks says she reached out to Conan to run down a rumor she heard about another tape that would be problematic for the campaign. There was no such tape regardless, but he chased that down for me, Hicks says. The October 9, 2016 debate, moderated by Anderson Cooper and Martha Raddatz, is now being discussed. Hicks says the Access Hollywood tape was raised during debate as one of the first questions. After the debate, Hicks confirms there were reports regarding Trump's behavior with women. That night after the debate, she says she was contacted by New York Times prosecutor Colangelo stopped her from describing the story. It's probably something that was said to be excluded. Let's see. Prosecutors are now playing a video of the October 2016 rally in North Carolina where Trump denied these reports. Asked if Trump was concerned these reports could hurt his stand with voters, Hicks replies, yes, well, of course he would. Hicks is now being asked about Trump's Twitter account. Twitter is now X'd. Asked whether he considered it important for part of his campaign. She says definitely. During the campaign, Trump posted all his own tweets, or a staffer would post things that Trump personally approved of. Now, this doesn't look good for Trump because it kind of like basically says that, basically that means that every tweet we see comes from him. That could not be a good thing for him. I don't care either way, but it could not be a good thing for him. Prosecutors are now showing Trump's tweets they had introduced into evidence previously, including his attack on late Senator John McCain, his denial of allegations following women. Hicks is reading the tweets of Trump's denials. Hicks says she first heard of McDougal on November 4th, 2016, when contacted by the Washington Street Journal. Ugh. Hicks says she heard of Stormy Daniels one other time before Daniels was mentioned in the November 4th, 2016 Washington Street Journal. Hicks says the security guys on Trump's plane in 2015 were telling a story about a celebrity golf tournament and some of the participants and Daniels' name came up. Hicks got the email about the Washington Street Journal story on Trump's plane as they were landing in Ohio for a rally. The email laid out the story about AMI buying McDougal's story of an affair with Trump. The WSJ reporter asked if Trump had an affair with McDougal, and was he or anyone close to him aware of the involvement or in the contract between McDougal and AMI. Hicks says she believed that she mentioned the email to Trump before his rally because she was worried she wouldn't have enough time to respond otherwise. Hicks says she forwarded the Washington Street Journal email to Jared Kushner because of his role in the campaign and also because of his relationship with Rupert Murdoch. Hicks said she hoped to buy a little extra time. Hicks is testifying that she called Conan because she knew he had a relationship with Pecker. She also called Pecker's office, she says. She says she thinks she called Conan before Pecker, and he prompted her to call Pecker for more information. Michael sort of feigned like he didn't know what I was talking about, she says. Let's see. Hicks is describing a call with Pecker during which he explained that Karen McDougal's deal. I asked what was going on, why I was receiving this email, and he explained that McDougal was paid for magazine covers and fitness columns, and that it was very legitimate, and that was what the contract was for. Hicks says of her call with Pecker. Hicks said that she had never had any discussions with Pecker before that date about McDougal. Hicks sent draft response to Conan for review. He responded instead, saying these accusations are completely untrue and just the latest despicable attempt by the liberal media and Clinton machine to distract the public from the FBI's ongoing investigation into Secretary Clinton and her closest associates. Hicks testified that when she spoke with Trump, they called Pecker. He wanted to hear from David as well, and I believed I have recollection of us calling and David repeating that to Trump, and sometimes after that conversation Trump wanted, he didn't want to use a statement that we drafted. He wanted to craft his own statement, Hicks said. Hicks says a Wall Street Journal reporter told her on the phone that Stormy Daniels would also be mentioned in a forthcoming story about McDougal. She told Trump about it, and he wanted to know the context and wanted to make sure that there was a denial of any kind of relationship. I felt the point of the story was that the Inquirer paid a woman for a story and never published it, Hicks says. It wasn't necessarily about an accusation of, certain behavior she had, pausing slightly before finishing her sentence. So now the court's taking a break. All right, so I'm going to go back here. I think it's a little interesting. I didn't want to do it in the middle of this, but so Trump appears increasingly agitated. Hicks' testimony continues. As Hicks has continued to testify, Trump has frequently engaged his attorneys. Appears increasingly agitated as he fires off comments to his attorneys Bove and Blanche with facial expressions. So At least according to CNN, Trump's having a more visible reaction when it came during a portion of that testimony from Hicks, and then he was less so when they got onto McDougal questions. It's probably due to the fact she's kind of confirming that he's the one who kind of, approve of all statements. So it kind of puts a lot of the statements back on him. He can't really have any wiggle room saying, "Oh no, it was someone else who made those statements." So maybe she kind of put him in the forefront of definitely saying like, it's all him. It's all him. Could be good or bad, depending. So they're back. All right, prosecutors are resuming their questioning. Questions for key witness Hicks, picking up on the line of inquiries around a 2016 article in the Wall Street Journal about McDougal and Daniels. I believe I heard Trump speaking to Conan shortly after the story was published. Hicks testified. Hicks, there was nothing memorable about the call, she said. She said Renice Pierbus was in a car with her and Trump at the time of the call with Conan. They were traveling to rally at Hershey, Pennsylvania, she said. Prosecutors are now showing Hicks and the jury the November 4th, 2016 story from the Wall Street Journal. Hicks is now reading the denial she gave to the Wall Street Journal for the story. At the time, she told the reporter the claims of the affair was totally untrue. Hicks is reluctant to quote or attribute anything to Trump as verbatim. Hicks says, "I don't remember saying to me verbatim, we have no knowledge of any of this. I don't want to say that's what he said because I don't remember." It's not reluctancy. That's like, I don't fucking remember. I'm not going to say something that says I can't remember. Hicks touched her test and looks up as if she's trying to find the words when asked to quote Trump or attribute his statements directly. Her body is turned towards jury and she is angling her head towards the prosecutor when she speaks. She smiled nervously through her statements as she tries to explain she can't remember verbatim statements. Prosecutors asking Hicks to look at her grand jury testimony to see if it reminds her of what she told prosecutors previously. Hicks says the denial was from Mr. Trump for both women. That was very clear. She adds that she doesn't have a specific memory of Trump telling her, "Say we have no knowledge of any of this. These are hectic conversations. There's a lot of people weighing in," Hicks explains. In 2016 statement, in her 2016 statement to the Wall Street Journal, Hicks is quoted as saying it was absolutely unequivocally untrue that Trump had a relationship with Daniels. Asked in court if Trump told her to say that, Hicks replies, "Yes. What I told the Wall Street Journal is what was told to me," Hicks says of the denial she gave about Daniels' allegations. Now reading through catalog of texts between herself and Conan. Jury sees Conan sent to Hicks with no response. "Call me at 9 p.m. Any news? 8:50 p.m. Any news?" At 9:02 p.m. Hicks giggles and laughs when reading an ironic typo included in the text. She eventually responded later that night, sending Conan the article from the Wall Street Journal. "Poorly written, I.sync. See it getting much play." I think it meant to type don't. Conan texted at 10:06 p.m. Hicks said, "I agree with most of that," she added. "It will get play because the media is the worst, but he should just ignore it and blow past it." This is apparently why they think the Wall Street Journal matters. Let's see why they think it matters. Let's see. Former Hicks about Wall Street Journal that ran 4 days before the 2016 election through the campaign's crisis. Story broke the news that the publisher of the Wire agreed to pay $150K to McDougal for her story about an alleged affair with Trump a decade earlier. The paper then declined to publish story, a process known as catch and kill. At the time, Hicks told the Journal that the claim of the affair was totally untrue. I mean, he hasn't admitted to the affair, so it could be completely untrue. McDougal could still have made it the fuck up. Prosecutors are attempting to establish what was happening within the Trump campaign headquarters in a hectic week before the election. The Washington story ran just weeks after the Access Hollywood tape, which caused Trump making lewd statements about women, was released. Okay. You know, it's funny. None of this actually shows why it matters, why the Wall Street Journal matters. Okay. Trump headquarters was happening within, like, okay, why does it matter what was happening within the campaign headquarters in the weeks before the election? Like, this happened 4 days before the 2016 election, all right? So the story came up, all right? The whole, what they're trying to call election interference happened months beforehand. Like when the story first was, being brought up and stuff. Like, so it doesn't actually matter. Like, and what their analysis says doesn't matter. It doesn't show why it matters, which is kind of funny, honestly. Not important. Conan texted Hicks, saying he had a statement from Stormy Daniels. Even CNN's not talking about it. No one believes it, or if necessary, I have a statement by Stormy denying everything and contradicting the other porn stars' statements. I wouldn't use it now or even discuss it with him, as no one is talking about this or cares. When asked about the text, Hicks says, I didn't follow up and say, what are you talking about? What statement? I didn't know what he was talking about, and I didn't want to know. Hicks says the coverage of the story, it wasn't being picked up in the same way as the way the Access Hollywood was. It wasn't wall-to-wall coverage. Hicks says she discussed the article with Trump. He was concerned about the story. He was concerned about how it would be viewed by his wife, and he wanted to make sure the newspapers weren't delivered to his residence that morning. That's hilarious. Hicks said she asked for Pecker's number from Conan. She had one, but Trump thought it was the wrong number. She wanted the number because Trump wanted to speak to the publisher, to Pecker, she said. Hicks says noting how close to the 2016 election they were when the Wall Street Journal reported on McDougal emerged. Hicks says the Trump campaign was just hoping to move forward. There was a lot going on, and it wasn't like this story was consuming the news cycle. I needed to be aware of every detail. I was kind of just hoping at this point we were going to just blow past it and keep going, she testified. Asked whether the Wall Street Journal would be an impact on President Trump's presidential campaign, Hicks says everything we talked about in the context of this time period and this time frame was about whether or not this was an impact on the campaign. Hicks is now asked about her time at the White House and Fox Corporation. Hicks confirmed she had a role on the presidential transition and then worked in the White House when Trump took office. Hicks was appointed Director of Strategic Communications when she joined the White House. She worked closely with Trump on media opportunities and spoke to him regularly during this time. Eventually, Hicks says she became the White House Communications Director. Hicks has turned to the jury to explain what the outer Oval Office looked like at the White House. She described directly to the jury, making brief eye contact. She smiled slightly, shifted her tone to informational conversation, juries looked directly at her. It was a very small space, very small, she says, the area where she worked. Madeline Westerhout also sat in the area outside the Oval Office with Hicks. She testified. Westerhout worked as Trump's executive assistant at the time. Judge overruled an objection about a question regarding Hicks' awareness of McDougal suing AMI to be released from her non-disclosure agreement. Hicks doesn't remember that independently, but she said she had her memory refreshed about the lawsuit. Recently had her memory refreshed about the lawsuit. Let's see. The day McDougal sued AMI, Westerhall texted Hicks, "Hey, the president wants to know if you called Pecker yet again." Hicks says she had no recollection of speaking to Pecker. She says she doesn't believe she called him, but doesn't remember. Colangelo asked about an interview McDougal did with Cooper. She was aware of the interview and watched the interview. She had no recollection of speaking to Pecker after the interview. To my knowledge, I did not speak to Pecker. I did speak to Mr. Trump, she said. Hicks left the White House 5 days later, though she later rejoined. Hicks says she spoke to Trump about the news coverage after Anderson Cooper's interview with McDougal, but doesn't remember speaking to Trump about Pecker at the time. Sorry. Hicks is looking at the document presented to her to refresh her recollection about a conversation with Conan about $130K hush money payment made to Stormy Daniels. Conan told Hicks that the story of the payment wasn't true, and that no payment had been made, that no relationship had transpired, and that he had documentation to prove that no payment had been made. Hicks asked Trump how he would like the team to respond to the story. Let's see. Prosecutors are showing the jury and the court the Wall Street Journal story from 2018 about the hush money payment and a statement from a White House official. Excuse me. Hicks says she was not the White House official anonymously quoted in the story. I can't say for sure who it was, Hicks says, saying she believed it was Hogan Gidley, a former White House spokesperson. Colangelo asked if, to her knowledge, Trump communicated directly about the payment. I only know about one instance. Sometime in the middle of February, Trump told me about it. The morning after, Conan gave a statement to the New York Times that he had, in fact, made the payment without Trump's knowledge. Hicks says she was skeptical about Conan's motives for making the payment. I didn't know Michael to be a especially charitable person or selfish person, she said, noting that Conan is the kind of person who seeks credit. Hicks said it was out of character for Conan. Now, it could also be that Conan made the payment without Trump's knowledge, and then later on she came back and said, "Hey, I did this for you. Give me some credit." So, all right. So Bove has begun his cross-examination of Hicks. I don't know how long this takes, but we'll see. Colangelo has. Oh, sorry, not important. We're just talking about. So, okay, Hicks started tearing up after the direct examination finished, and as both took the podium. Why? As soon as Bo began, he asked her, "I see. This is why you should This is why you should let a dude do this. That's why you should let a dude cross-examine a woman, or a woman cross-examine a woman. It's been smart to have Nichols cross-examine her, but whatever." As soon as Bo began, he asked her, "I want to talk to you about your time at the Trump Organization." Hicks appears to have become overwhelmed by the moment. She appears to be trying to hold back tears and asked for a minute as she reached into her purse. Hicks was audibly sniffling with tears. She left the courtroom with an attorney, and the jury was let out. As she left, Hicks moved her hair to one side of her neck, lowering her head and quickening her pace as she passed Trump. Trump remained seated the whole time. The fuck is this? Sorry about that, Hicks says, as testimony resumes following a brief pause from the former Trump aide appeared to grow emotional. "If you need a minute, just let me know," Bove responds. Bove is asking Hicks about a relationship with Trump. "You felt that you had his trust and respect?" Bove asked. "His trust and his respect," Hicks said, and her voice still quivering. Bove confirmed again that Graf had a similar relationship of mutual respect. "I really looked up to Rahana," Hicks says. Hicks is testifying that then Trump attorney Conan tried to insert himself into the 2016 presidential campaign. Hicks said Conan wasn't supposed to be on the campaign in any official capacity. Hicks says the attorney wasn't looped in on the day-to-day of campaign strategy. He would go rogue and take actions that were unauthorized by Trump's team, frustrating the campaign. He liked to call himself a fixer or Mr. Fix-It, and it was only because he first broke it that he was able to fix it, she said. So again, this could actually prove that, hey, he went rogue and paid off Stormy Daniels. He didn't tell us till later. All right. Bove asked Hicks whether, in her experience, it's not uncommon for campaign to work with the media. Hicks smiled and answered, I wouldn't have a job if it wasn't regular practice. Former president exchanged a look and smirked with the other attorney, Blanche, when she said this. Bove is asking Hicks about whether Trump was concerned about how the McDougal story would affect things at home. President Trump really values Miss Trump's opinion, and she doesn't weigh in all the time, but when she does, it's really meaningful to him, and he really, really respects what she has to say, Hicks says. She says she doesn't think Trump was concerned. She does think Trump was concerned about her perception, what her perception would be. All right. Bove is asking Hicks about when Trump's tax return data was leaked. She says she also recalls campaign staff coming together to respond. Bove clarified Hicks that when she mentioned hearing discussions about Trump's plane about Stormy Daniels years before the Wall Street Journal article in 2016, it was about Daniels' relationship with football player Bennett Roethlisberger. Okay. Bove is asking Hicks about how she testified that Trump didn't want the newspaper delivered to the residents on November 4th, 2016, when the Wall Street Journal story on McDougal came out. There were parts of this that were very personal to him, right? Absolutely. Bove asked. Absolutely. I don't think he wanted anyone in his family to be hurt or embarrassed by anything that was happening on the campaign trail. He wanted them to be proud of him, Hicks says. That was it. Okay, that was the end of the cross-examination. She's done. Okay. So that's it. And then, okay, so she's off the stand. The testimony's all done. Now look at what happened. Trump turned, nodded to Hicks with a small smile when she passed the defense table. Okay, so the entire time he wasn't looking at her, wasn't doing anything. And then as soon as the testimony's done, she's done. He gives her a small smile. The judge has ruled in favor of defense's argument that it would be too prejudicial for the jury to hear about the contempt order he issued over Trump's violating a gag order. He also denied the prosecutor's ability to cross-examine the former president about the gag order if he chooses to testify. Prosecutors said earlier this week they wanted to ask Trump about judge ruling that Trump violated the gag order. Colangelo said asking Trump about the gag order violation was appropriate and allowable Sandoval evidence. The judge, however, said he agrees with Trump with Blanche and won't let the prosecutors ask about the violations for a jury to hear that this court, the same judge that presides over this case, has found Mr. Trump in contempt. On this case, I think would just be so prejudicial. Yeah, it'd be another thing entirely if it was another judge who found him violating the gag order. It's a lot more when it's that one. And then court adjourned. So that's the end of it. So it's testifying. That was like one of the big happenings of the week was Hicks testifying. So we'll see what happens today. We'll see what happens tomorrow. But we'll check that out, tomorrow and see what had happened today, if anything interesting happened. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was fairly interesting. So that was very interesting. Let's see. I think that's all I got today. Make sure you like and follow. Subscribe to Rumble, YouTube, Twitch, whatever. More importantly, Grumble. But yeah, I hope you all have a good day. Peace out, and I will see you all tomorrow. Peace.